Hey, greetings from the Pacific Northwest. Bo here. Spring, almost over, I know. It's getting into summer, so I thought I'd show some cards that you don't see very often from various spring and summer leagues. We're going to start. This was made by a company, and I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's spelled Jogo. I don't know if that's Yogo or Jogo or Jago or whatever, but anyhow. Canadian Football League cards. And this is, I was a big fan of the Canadian Football League strictly because of Warren Moon. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. Warren Moon was a Washington Husky legend. I'm not sure if this is a rookie card or what. This used to be a pretty, and these are really oversized too. I'll show you, because I'm going to show USFL cards later. That's a Jim Kelly's rookie card. And as you can see, side by side comparison, these are a lot bigger. They're black and white too. But here you got Warren Moon, UW Husky legend. He played 6 years in the CFL. I believe he won 5 Grey Cups. Pretty good. J.C. Watts, he later went to Oklahoma and became a senator or congressman, I think. Leif Pedersen. There's Paul Bennett. Unmarked checklist for what it's worth, but there's nothing to check on the checklist. It's just a list of names. That's the way to get down to where these guys are. Okay, here we go. That was Pedersen. That was Bennett. James Reed, linebacker, Winnipeg Jets. Jerry DeTio, I don't remember him. Vince Ferragamo's the guy I remember, quarterback in the Montreal Alouettes. There's Steve Stapler. Tom Cousineau opted for the big money of the Canadian Football League. Back then, the CFL would vie for NFL talent. He went and played a little bit in Canada, came back down to the NFL. Had a couple of good years with the Cleveland Browns, if I remember right. Bruce Threadgill of the Calgary Stampeders. And McElhenney Stampeders. Joe Poplowski from the Winnipeg Jets. Joe 747 Barnes. So, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You had 9 teams in the league at this time. At that time, there were 2 Roughriders. John Hufnagel, quarterback. Bobby Thompson, Winnipeg Jets. Dieter Brock later came to the NFL, was with the LA Rams. Got him to the 85 NFC Championship game where they got absolutely demolished by the Chicago Bears. Mike Holmes, Willie Miller, John Helton. CFL is a wide open, 3 down, 110-yard field. The end zones, I think, are 20 yards long, if I remember right. Maybe longer. Larry Key. You got Glenn Jackson. Joe Holloman, Dan Kepley, Roy Highbaugh, David Boone, John Henry White of the BC Lions. There's Joe Pow in the background on that one. He has a card in the set too. Ben Zambiasi, John Priestner, Tom Wilkinson. I don't remember. So my friend... no, I'll go over that. That's somebody else. Never mind. Brian Kelly, I believe he was teammates with Warren Moon at the UW back in the day. I remember Joe Steele was on that team. Keith Gary. Tom Clements, that's what I was saying. So a guy I used to work for, a guy named Al Hunter, he ended up playing 5 years with the Seahawks. I believe he and Tom Clements were teammates at Notre Dame. The Rudy years. Keith Baker. Dave Shaw. There he is. Vince Ferragamo got the Rams to the Super Bowl, jumped to the CFL, was a disaster. Later came back to the Rams and had good years. James Scott, who had been with the Chicago... I think he played in the World Football League, too, back in the 70s. I mean, he was also with the Chicago Bears, had some decent years. There's Billy White Shoes Johnson himself. David Overstreet never did have the career that people thought he'd have in the NFL. Conridge Holloway, he was kind of a fun. A lot of these quarterbacks were really athletic, roll out, they could run, throw. Kind of the way you see guys in the NFL now. The CFL was doing that back in the 80s. Dave Newman, Cedric Minter, he played a bit in the NFL. Pete Miller. Turn these this way again. Bruce Clark went on to have some good years with the New Orleans Saints. Randy Rhino. You see, here's your Rough Riders. Ottawa version, right? Larry Brune, Mike Raines. Greg Marshall, Jerry Organ. Oh, these are backwards in here. Sorry, folks. These aren't the most organized set I have, that's for sure. Richard Crump, and rounding it out is Terry Gabriel. So there you have it. There's some CFL cards. Now, the USFL, I only have this one card. This is the original set, and it's a PSA 8 Jim Kelly. I love the Houston Gamblers. Jim Kelly was my absolute favorite quarterback at the time. And so ESPN, ABC, I love this league. Thanks to a certain person who ESPN called out for killing the league. He's a jerk. See what we got here. Case DeBruin, I guess. I don't remember him. McCatlin. Bruce Laird had some good years with the Colts. Kit Lathrop. Kevin Long had some good years with the Jets. Carl Lorch, he played for a bit in the NFL. Dave Tipton. Doug Williams. And this version of the Outlaws, I believe, is the Arizona Outlaws. And they had already moved from Oklahoma. Oklahoma Outlaws were kind of fun, too. They had Doug Williams, who'd been with the Buccaneers. Came back to the NFL. Quarterback the Redskins to a Super Bowl. I believe he was the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl. Kelvin Bryant had some good years. Willie Collier. Irv Eastman. Scott Fitzke. William Fuller. Chuck Facina. Pete Kugler. Garcia Lane. Michael Lush. Sam Mills went on to have some good years in the NFL with the Saints. But I don't know how you say that, Adelet, I don't remember him. Joe Cribbs had been a star with the Buffalo Bills and came to the Birmingham Stallions, had some good years. David Dumars. Robin Earl, I believe he was a fullback with the Bears, and he became a tight end in the USFL. Joey Jones. Leon Perry. Dave Purifoy, who had some good years later in the NFL as well. Bill Rowe. Doug Smith. Cliff Stout had some bad years with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Denver Gold. Jeff Delaney. Vince Evans had been with the Bears for a while. Leonard Harris. Bill Johnson. I'm sure some of these other guys played in the NFL too, but if I don't remember them, I don't remember them. You know, David Martin. Bruce Thornton. Was not a big fan of the Denver Gold, although they'd get some snow in the spring. It was kind of interesting. There you go. The Houston Gamblers. This is my favorite team. Luther Bradley, I believe he played with the Lions for a bit. Pete Catton. The Gamblers had that run and shoot, Mouse Davis offense. 5 wide receivers, no running backs, chuck it all over the yard. This is my favorite team to watch. I love Jim Kelly. They never got far in the playoffs. I don't even know if they ever won a playoff game. They got knocked out in the first round every time. Richard Johnson. That's the second-year card of Jim Kelly. Gerald McNeil. Clarence Verdun. Both those guys play in the NFL. Dale Waters. Mike Edwards. Tom Dinkle. Gary Clark, he played in the NFL for a bit. Bill Franco. Bob Gruber. I don't remember him. Robbie. Because I remember Brian Sipe being with Jacksonville. Mike Rozier. He started off at the Pittsburgh Maulers. Had played at Nebraska, never really panned out. There's Brian Sipe from the old Cardiac Browns. JT Turner. Howard Carson. Wyman Henderson. Kevin Nelson. Jeff Partridge in a pear tree. Ben Rudolph. JoJo Townsell. He had some decent years in the USFL. I don't remember if he played in the NFL or not. Eddie Weaver. Steve Young, that's his second-year card, I do believe. Tony Zendejas of the famous Zendejas brothers. John Corker. Leonard Coleman. Mousy Cade. Derek Crawford. Art Kuhn. Art Kuhn had been a Seattle Seahawk. I think he was an original Seattle Seahawk from '76. Walter Lewis. Showboats were okay to watch, too. They had Reggie White. You'll see his card here in a little bit. Byron McGriff. Tim Spencer had some decent years. Reggie White, I believe that is his rookie card, but it may have been the year before, too. So don't quote me on that. Henry Williams. Sam Bowers. Maurice Carthon. You know, I always thought he was every bit as good as the guy you're going to see here in a second. Clarence Collins. Doug Flutie. Flakes. Freddie Gilbert. There he is, Herschel Walker. That's the guy who I was comparing Carthon to. Roger Ruzek played in the NFL for a while. Kerry Justin. He'd been a Seattle Seahawk for a while. David Lampman. Rick Partridge in a pear tree. Ned Bejovic. Albert Bentley was an okay running back. He played in the NFL. Monte Bennett. Dave Browning, he played at the UW, had been an Oakland Raider, too. Now here he is, an Oakland Invader. Anthony Carter, very good player. Bobby Hebert, very good player in the NFL, in the USFL and the NFL. Reuben Vaughn, Stan Talley, Ray Penny, Curtis Bledsoe, Reggie Collier, the Orlando Renegades here, Jerry Dogger or whatever. Jerry Goldstein, he played with the Giants in the NFL, I remember. Bob Nikolczyk, Joel Patton, Marcus Dupree, never really panned out. Didn't he have a problem with substance abuse? Maybe. I shouldn't say that because I don't know. Ricky Simmons and Joey Waters. Jeff Gossett. All these great punters. Frank Lockett. Marcus and somebody or other. I don't know. Kenny Neal. Robert Pennywell. Matt Robinson, quarterback. He'd been with the Jets and the Broncos. Danny Buggs. He'd been with the Redskins. Doug Woodward. I don't remember if the Breakers played in several places. They played in Washington, they played in New Orleans, and they played in Portland. And I don't know which version of this it was. Dan Ross had been on one of the Bengal teams with Ken Anderson that went to a Super Bowl. Putt Choate, Greg Fields, Ken Hartley. All these great punters, man. Nick McMeyer. I believe it was pronounced McMeyer if I remember, not Mike Meyer. I'm pretty sure I remember when he played. Because there was a Steve McMeyer, too. Nick McMeyer and Steve McMeyer. They were brothers. Rick Neuheisel was a better coach than he ever was a quarterback. The Gunslingers are one of the all-time great logos in USFL history. I've got a lot of these teams' pennants, too, including the San Antonio Gunslingers. Great name. I like the old Westerns. Gary Worthy, Tampa Bay Bandits. These guys were a solid franchise, but they never did win a championship. Mike Clark, Mike Butler, Greg Boone. We're almost to the end, guys. Thanks. If you stuck with us to the end here, good for you. James Harwell. And then John Reeves, the big quarterback. John Bassett, who had owned the Toronto Maple Leafs, owned the Tampa Bay franchise. They were a pretty solid franchise. But Michigan Panthers won the first one. By the last year, they and the Invaders had become, they folded them into the same team. And then Philadelphia Stars won it, and then they moved to Baltimore as the Stars, and they won it. So that's your USFL history. And that's it. Spring, summer football. Take care, guys. Bye.